Is the coalition government keeping its promises? This has been very, very well signalled to the electorate. It was taken to the electorate, and I want to congratulate the Minister for shepherding the bill through. The simple concept here is that all of our children are not the same. One size does not fit all, and it gives the opportunity for some diversification, from innovation, and I think that is a great thing. What we've heard from the opposition is they won't work, or maybe it's that they work too well. The opposition is concerned that it will increase inequity, which must be the thinking it will work too well, and that's a terrible thing, isn't it? Maybe it'll be too expensive, and they're worried about things like paying conditions, teaching qualifications and so on. But my appeal, just as Katie Nimmin has said, is to give it a go. For the opposition, to give it a go. For the unions, to give it a go. To fair-minded Kiwis, to give it a go, and let's see how it goes. Because we will be watching. We will watch the conversion process. We will watch the consultation, the engagement. We will watch the way in which charter schools engage with communities when they're set up. We'll watch those issues about, those things where communities have raised money for parts of the asset base, whether it's playgrounds or whatever it might be. We'll watch the costs. And most importantly, we'll watch the performance. We'll watch how the children engage in those schools, how the children attend those schools, because it ain't great in the state sector, and how they perform in those schools, what sort of results we get. Those are the important things. So I would say to the opposition, one of the things that's going to be really important is the quality of the information we get. I note that the charter schools are exempt from OIA to start with, and that is something which obviously we'll be wanting to see what the data looks like, so that we can all say these things work or they don't work, and that's what we need to know. And finally, Madam Speaker, the Honourable Giantonetti said that this is a sad day for the state education system, and I just say to her and to the opposition, look in the mirror, look at what you did, look at what we saw the performance of the state sector do in the last 6 years. It wasn't great. We are working very hard in this government to turn that around, and good progress is being made, because look at the performance, the attendance, the results, and this is about our future. Look at the assets themselves, the buildings and so on. It is not great at the moment. That needs to be turned around. Madam Speaker, we're working very hard to fix that system. This is about innovation and going forward. I commend this bill to the House.
I think Andy's found himself sitting on another fence.
I mean, I think there was an implication there that maybe Andy isn't necessarily in agreement that the charter schools are exempt from a lot of these.
Well, that is something in there. You're exempt from the IOA. Now, there are two approaches that can be done. You have an organisation that's exempt from the IOA, but still actually issued the information out like an IOA. Or you might go, oh, sorry, we have to tell you because we don't feel like it. And that's the problem of what happens when you exempt someone receiving public money from the IOA.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people IOA, it's in the ballot, and I've come with a response. We're not subject to the IOA. This information is given based on the goodwill of the organisation. And it was things about ratings. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know Andy through my history with local government, and I have a lot of things I want to say about that speech, but it looks like there was a card that was picked up and read, but I think probably the only serious point in there was around the transparency of information. I think everything else was just fairly bullet pointish and reading off the card, but yeah, I don't.
Actually, Tanya Yankovic got told off about doing that on was it the armed shooters and was it Amendment Bill one that was read out earlier today? She actually got told off for doing that.
Well, at least they didn't read off the PC.
Oh, there's been so many people who've been told off for reading off their cards, eh? It's like...
Yeah. Have we already given charter schools a go between 2014 2018, and the total cost averaged about 48 grand per student compared to the 8,000 spent on students in state schools?
Well, the cost per student for charter school is astronomical compared to the cost per student in state school environment, and the results they just don't stack up. So
with that cost being so high, did that include capital expenditure to start the schools, or was that just the general running for those tax years or for those education years?
No, the capital was the capex or capital expenditure was separate.
Yeah. So that is a fair bit of money, and in some cases was delivering results, and sometimes cases it wasn't.
There's some really interesting. If a lot of OAAs have come out recently showing some fairly, let's just use the phrase loose governance arrangements around how some charter schools have been managed, and particularly some ones up in Northland, Whangarei, and
Yeah.
you know the one we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And
One that shall not be named.
they're still
The one that possibly like didn't have a proper board of trustees or something. It just had.
I actually have it written down somewhere.
Yeah, it's one that there's a whole bunch of land that was purchased and used for an alternative purpose.
Wasn't it farming or something like that?
Yeah, that's the farm one. Yeah. So there's all sorts of things that can be achieved when you are a charter school that are just completely off the table when you're a public school. And I mean, we're talking about public money here. This is taxpayers' money that's used for purchasing private land, for doing alternative things. It's just.
There was an example actually in Newtown, and this wasn't for charter schools or anything, but I think it was either in the 90s, it might have been on the cusp of the early 2000s, but it was around the same point when Wellington Hospital was going through its upgrade process, and so Newtown School approached the Ministry of Education to say, can we get a bridging loan to buy out between number 14 and number 28 Meehan Street, and use that section of land to relocate the school one block up the road to be away from the busy main road, and then redevelop the old school grounds into, commercial development or something, on sell it into the private sector. So we buy one set of private property, develop it for a school, and then sell the old school. And it was actually declined by the Ministry of Education. It was around the same point that they were doing with the hospitals, because all those houses that were at the first section of Meehan Street opposite the school are now gone, and it's a car park. But that was something that was looked at back then, and that was a big no-no at the time. And that actually could have improved safety ratings and all that sort of thing for Newtown School, not being next to a main road.
I think there's a lot of issues with the Ministry of Education as well, because where I'm from in Porirua, there's a school that in a suburb in Aotea, there was a primary school was initially meant to be built there, but it kept getting delayed and pushed back. And then the Ministry of Education just essentially said, oh, we're not doing it because the population isn't growing enough. But then the argument was that we need the building a school in Aotea would make the population grow. And so I think it's
similar thing happened in Churton Park. So where Amesbury School is in Churton Park was one of those toss-ups: do we build a school there, do we not? And I do know in Paraparaumu there was a section of land that sat for 25 years empty to build a school that never got built.
Yep, that's the same with Porirua. There's a piece of land that was going to build there.
It will be interesting to do it, because that's actually the area where both my grandparents were principals.
Right.
Because Grandma was associate principal of Porirua College for 10 years out of her 17 years being there, and Granddad was Titahi Bay Intermediate Foundation principal. Before that, he was Porirua East School. Before that was Hampton Hill School. But he was there when there was about the explosion of schools in the area.
Yeah. And Aotea is the only suburb in that area actually that isn't zoned for any primary school. There's some houses that are in the suburb that are zoned for schools around the area, but there are some families that are completely left out of being zoned for any primary school. There is a college there, but you also need a primary school in order for
and actually, and this is something can go in there. When Aotea College opened, Porirua College decided to make its big focus to be the Māori Pacifica go-to college of the time, and it meant the ethnic balance went from 75% Māori Pacifica to 90% in that 10 years that Grandma was associate principal. So it was quite she saw the big jump in it.
And also in the poorer areas of that area, Māori Pacifica do make a far larger number of those lower socioeconomic areas.
And I do know that the current principal, who actually is a former teacher of mine at Paraparaumu College, Ruane Maxwell, is literally rallying loggerheads, particularly at David Seymour, over there is the Food in Schools, because they have a very cost-effective Food in Schools program that runs on the smell of an oily rag.
There's a lot of schools that actually have a lot of cost-effective food lunch programs, and there's very, very few out there that don't. The school I go to actually has a food lunch program, and when he mentioned sushi, about some schools getting sushi on television, it The
Don't
fucking
forget, it's
schools
woke sushi.
woke sushi. What school's getting sushi for their lunch? I mean, like,
I remember sushi once at college. Guess what? We made it in home economics.
yeah, and cooking you make it, but I don't remember the school serving it out for free. It's just a
No.
ridiculous.
And like, that could be an example of a school sushi might have been done in a home economics class.
He'd visited our school. There was a whole.
Were you the one that
Oh
had
yeah,
the
I remember
haka?
that.
yeah.
Was that the one, the haka, where he kind of turned up his nose and told you off? And
Well, we did a haka for him, and there was a big trouble about that because some shit went down. I don't know, but he just. It was such a It's he's just not. I don't understand why he's the associate education minister. Out of like,
I'm still trying to find out where Paul
experience does he have?
egg and mung bean sandwiches school is. Or it wasn't eggplant and mung bean.
yeah.
I'm still trying to find out which school, because I've not even heard that as a flavour.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what